Hi, Susan. Can you hear? Susan, is my sound coming through? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thanks. All right. So we have a nice crowd. And well, I don't know where Bet is in your on your screen. She's in the top left corner of mine, but Bet, wave your hands for people who've never met you before. This is
I wore my special t-shirt.
oh good. May the Ferris be with you. So, so for those of you who haven't met before, this is Bette Barnett, a delightful human and wonderful artist and a great, super organized presenter and teacher. And I'm so excited that you're going to be working with us. And I've asked Bette to do some work, kind of sharing a little bit about her life and how she got started working with steel and gold, and also to be able to differentiate between the two classes that she's going to be teaching for us, each of which will be 2 days. One is a Saturday and Sunday, and one is a Monday, Tuesday, if I have that right. And and there's some overlap, but they're distinctly different as well. And I know Bette has a little presentation that she can offer. She's also dealing with COVID right now, so it's good that we're online and not in the same room together. But don't fly without a mask if you don't want to get COVID.
Yeah,
Everyone I know that's flying is getting it, so be careful out there. And and that how's that for a very formal introduction?
that's perfect, Susan.
All right, I
That's perfect.
didn't introduce
So,
myself.
yeah, I apologize to everybody for my froggy tone. In fact, Susan had posted on Instagram a warning to me. She said, "Be sure to wear your mask." And so I ran out and bought a mask before I was going to Austin, and it was in my purse, and I forgot to put it on. It's apparently on the rise, so I apologize, and I sound worse than I feel. So anyway, we'll just make the best of it. But thank you to all of you for coming. I love doing this sort of thing, even remotely. I mean, it's just so nice to have this type of community. Um, I wanted to talk just briefly, give you, for those of you I don't know, and I see some names here, people that I know we've never met. So just give you a little brief highlight of who I am and sort of what I'm all about. As Susan mentioned, I have a little, it's just a little slide presentation that gives you a little bit of my background. So let's see, Susan, am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, I think if I just make you a co-host, you'll be able to do that as soon as I find your sweet little name. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. So you are a co-host, and you should be able to.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
There, let's see. There. Whoops. Okay, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen now. Let me just
It's such a
full screen. There we go. Um, this is, yeah, now I'm going to get the people popping in, but that's okay.
I'll let them come in.
Okay, I won't do anything. This, it's funny. This is my headshot that I use, and it's getting a little bit old. And every time I look at it, I go, "Oh, I really need to have that updated." So,
Great picture.
just a little bit of background about me, and I didn't really start metalsmithing until I was in my 60s. I had retired from a long corporate career. So I'm not a classically trained jeweler. I'm not by any stretch of the definition a traditional metalsmith. And, in some ways, sadly, I'm not a perfectionist. But by not being a perfectionist, what it allows me to do is really take some chances. And I love to explore. In fact, you see this photo of me there was at the coma demo that I did a couple of years ago. And you see me playing with some big fire, which is my favorite thing to do. I just love steel. Anyone who has taken a workshop from me has heard me say, steel invites you to play. It is just such an incredible metal. It's gotten a bad rap over the years. When I first started teaching, some of the studios would say, "Oh, we can't let you work with steel in our, no, you're going to ruin our tools." Well, those are misperceptions. It's just not true. It's a very friendly metal. It's not going to hurt your tools. So I continue to be in love with all things ferrous. I teach, as you know, I started teaching in 2018, and I never realized until I started doing it how much I would love teaching. It was funny when I first got out of college, just a few years ago. I was a teacher and only taught for about 4 years, but I loved it. And so now I love that I'm able to share something that I'm passionate about. I'm an author. I published a book last year, and I'm a hopeless experimenter. This is my background, real quickly. I was introduced to steel in 2013 by Chris Nelson. Some of you may know who Chris is or was. He sort of pioneered gold and steel in the United States, and taught workshops all over the US and some outside the US. I took his first workshop in 2013, and I just fell in love with steel and gold. And I went head over heels and began to work with Chris. He mentored me. Unfortunately, in 2017, he passed away really, really young. He was in his late 60s or mid 60s. And after his death, though, I just kept playing around with it and decided that, and this is where not being a traditionally trained metalsmith helps. I'm finding that I would ask myself, well, this should work. Why wouldn't it work? And so I would just keep pushing until I made it work. And that's what happened with things like fusing silver and other non-gold metals to steel. I worked with copper. Chris had said, "Oh, you can't fuse silver to steel." But after years, I figured out you can. It just works a little bit differently. Kimbu on steel. And you see the word unbu on steel. Unbu is the same thing as kumbu, but with silver foil. And I worked on that for years and years and made it work finally. Then I discovered powdered metals. Oh my Lord, head over heels in love using powdered metals to steel. And in fact, that's the first workshop that I'm teaching at MAG. It is going to be a technique called painting with powdered metals. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Working with perforated steel. Oh my gosh, how much fun is that? And then most recently, I've developed some techniques called radical etching. Basically, it's taking etching to some unconventional methods using resists, like some of the printmaker resists, some of the waxes that are used by printmakers, rubber cement, some really unusual things. And then also changing up the etching process so that you can do things like etching metal all the way through. Last year, I introduced my painting with powdered metals class and my radical etching techniques, and I'm continuing to roll those out this year. Last year, I also published my book, Creating Steel Jewelry, and I'm happy to say that it is selling really well, and I've gotten great feedback on it. So it's a good book. We'll also have the book at the classes at MAG, and we'll be doing a little, soft opening of the new location, as well as talking a little bit about my book. What gets me up in the morning, other than my puppy, who gets me at 6 a.m. every morning? I just love to educate artists about steel. I am so excited about it. I continue to be so excited about it. And when I can translate my passion into a love that other people have for the metal, that's what makes me tick. And then exploring and introducing new techniques for steel jewelry. I'm always thinking, what if we tried this? And and then also to stimulate interest in steel among artists and art patrons. And I'm happy to say that I see that happening. There are a number of artists who do create steel jewelry. Let's see, April Wood, Pat Flynn, Maya Lepo. I mean, there are some really notable ones. And I'm seeing now that art patrons are really they're starting to look at it and go, yeah, this is really cool. So I also want to move steel jewelry into the mainstream to spark creative exploration. And this is kind of my latest thing is I want to bridge the territory between jewelers, blacksmiths, bladesmiths, and jewelers, part of my reputation. It's interesting. I did a demo earlier this year for the California Blacksmith Association up in Northern California, and I demoed Kimbu on steel. And I did it. I wish I'd included a picture to show you, but I demoed Kimbu on heavy forged steel, and it works beautifully. One of the blacksmiths there was demonstrating forging a skull out of steel. And he brought one over to me and said, could you add some gold to this? And I added a gold tooth with Kimbu, and they were hooked. Everybody in that group was like, oh yeah, we want to learn how to do that. So I'm getting ready to teach a class now in Southern California at Vista Forge next weekend. So we're starting to get some traction with that. Come on. Okay, I'm going to go real fast for this. These are just some of the things over the years that I've experimented with and developed. Kimbu was one of the first ones, and this is a ring, one of the early pieces that I did with Kimbu on steel. And you can see just how beautiful that yellow gold is against the black of the steel. This is something, my opinion is you just can't get this type of contrast with other metals. And then fusing non-ferrous, non-gold metals. Chris's focus was really on gold, and I have really pushed to bring other metals in. This is a metal that's called shakudo. It is mostly copper with a little bit of gold added. And just look at that gorgeous gold color. So I experimented with that. I've been since 2017. Then I got all excited about black annealed wire and not only designing with it, but also fusing and Kimbu on wire. During COVID, I started really exploring with perforated steel. This was a huge piece I did during COVID. And you see the obviously a symbolic of the coronavirus, and you see the perforated steel used to symbolize that. And then this is Kimbu applied to steel wire. New forms. I love burning holes in things. Preferably they have to be other metals. It's not fun to burn things in clothing. But I do love burning holes in steel, and you can get these kind of special effects. So 2020 was a great year in terms of my creativity. And I think I've heard a lot of artists say that. I think because we were entering COVID, a lot of artists kind of turned inward and really sourced their kind of creative motivation. I started exploring enameled mesh. It's funny. I took a class from Kat Cole, who is just, you're probably familiar with Kat. Her work, her enameled work on steel is just unequaled. And I started doing it, and I thought, this is just it's not me. It's not what I want to do. And then I discovered mesh, woven steel mesh, and enameling on mesh, and I went bonkers. So that's another area that I'm working on. Okay, then powdered metals. Oh my God. This is a cuff that I made in 23 using powdered white bronze. And I just love that look. So I started working with the powdered metals, and then in 2024, I developed this technique called painting with powdered metals. And let me see if I can move this out of the way. Well, maybe not. Let me go back. The painting with powdered metals technique is the topic of the Saturday and Sunday workshop that I'll be teaching there at MAG. And it's a technique that I developed that allows you to use powdered metals in a way that similar to paint. And you can see here on this where I've got different shades. Down here is painted silver. These are some bronzes. Up here are white bronzes. This looks like it might be a brilliant bronze. And I discovered that using this technique, you can create different colors and textures on the metal at the same time. And let me show you the next one, because this shows it even better. This was my first piece that I did as sort of a sampler. And you can see why I call it painting with powdered metals. It just almost looks like a watercolor. Then the last thing that I've developed is this technique called radical etching. I think I already described what that is. But here is a piece that shows an example of something that was etched with many different types of resists over a sequence of periods. Okay, so why steel? Why am I going to try to sell you on falling in love with steel? You know, John Cogswell, who unfortunately recently passed away, summed it up best in his book on what was it called? It's stone setting. I can't remember the exact title of the book, but he says, precious metals are simply the materials with which we work. The price we pay to procure them is simply the cost of doing business. As a non-traditional metal, these are my words, steel offers a rich array of advantages, hardness, strength, blah, blah, blah. You can read on. But Cogswell he nails it when he says, jewelry created from alternative materials stands apart from more commonly employed silver and gold. When you create something that makes passersby look twice, that can be a good thing. Dare to stand apart and try new things. And that's why I love steel. Okay, let me stop my share. So I will just stop right there before I talk about the workshops and ask if anyone has any questions about what I just covered. Anything at all, any of the pieces that I shared or anything like that. You'll get a chance to look at this afterwards if you want to too. I know that there will be a recording. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the classes. And I brought some examples of pieces to show you examples of what we'll be working with. As I mentioned, the first class, the painting with powdered metals class, will be on Saturday and Sunday. We'll start by talking about first of all, what are powdered metals? You know, where do you get them? When I first started working with them, you can buy commercial powdered metals, copper, white bronze, aluminum. You can even buy powdered steel. And I started working with those. And then I discovered some other things. First of all, I discovered powdered metal clay. Hadar Jacobson, some of you may be familiar with Hadar. And she produces these beautiful powdered metal clays that are simply metal clays that have not been hydrated. So they have a binder in them. And she has, oh gosh, I'm going to say 20 different metals. Those can be used in the painting with powdered metals technique. So I discovered those, and they are just beautiful, especially the bronzes. Oh my God, she has a brilliant bronze, a smart bronze, a white bronze. I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous. And then I discovered powdered silver. that you can buy from, it's used in medical areas. And you can buy, I get mine from a company called Applied Technologies. And oh my gosh, to make the powdered metals paint, it is just, in fact, let me show you this. This is one of the pieces. If I, and do you have me? I assume you have me pinned, Susan, right? Or let me
No,
do it. I can do it here. Okay. So down at the bottom, let me get the light. Okay, see those little dots? That is the powdered silver paint. And when I say it fuses differently, you see what I mean there. It tends to consolidate into these little beautiful little dots. And then at the top there, this is a gold. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention the gold. Powdered gold. Powdered gold, you can grind your own, and we'll cover that in the workshop. But you can also purchase beautiful powdered gold from Allcraft that is magnificent. And we're going to talk about alloying it so that you can stretch it further, and then using it sparingly to create these beautiful designs. So that's a good example.
so Bet, when you buy it from Allcraft, is it pure gold and then you alloy it down?
Yes, it is 24 karat gold. It's the finest quality that you can get. And in fact, I've got here, let me show you this. I'm not going to open it because I don't want to risk. I've got my fan on, and I would not risk having it blow away. But it comes in these tiny little 1 gram packets. And they are absolutely, it's absolutely gorgeous. And you can alloy it. I have used it straight, and I've also alloyed it. But by alloying it, you can make it go further. And the neat thing about, excuse me, neat thing about painting with powdered metals is that you can alloy it. There are 2 different ways you can do it. You can do it in the paint when you mix the paint, or you can alloy it when you fuse it to the surface of the steel, which is just way cool. And what happens is you get, oh, there's another, I can show you another example. This one, when you paint with powdered metals, you are able to get different like shadings. And here, I actually alloyed this on the surface of the steel. So you get these different, I don't know if you the light is not letting you see it very well, but you get different shadings. So it's much more interesting than just fusing straight metal on there.
So if you're alloying it on the metal, are you using like powdered copper and powdered silver to do it, or do we just wait and learn that?
Whatever alloy you want to create, it's just,
you don't have to use powdered other metals if you're using powdered gold to alloy it onto this.
oh, you do. Yes,
Okay.
you do. Yeah. And the painting with powdered metals, it's all powdered, all powders, because that's the only way you can get the nuances is with the powders. I also discovered another form that you can use for painting with powdered metals, and it is from a company, Advanced Metallics, and they are little flakes of metal that are designed to be embedded in resin for manicure artists. And they're pure metals, and they are beautiful. And I've used their white brass, their brasses, and it's just really fun. I'm discovering new metals all the time. So let's see. So that's the powdered metals. And before let me remove my spotlight so I can see you guys. Let me just kind of quickly go through the agenda for that. So we'll talk about mixing the powdered metals. And then there are different ways you can, or the powdered metal paint. And then there are different ways that you can apply the paint to the metal to get different effects. And I won't go into them here because that's what we're going to talk about in the class. And then we will go into fusing and the different techniques for fusing. And then, of course, we'll talk about patinas, where you get this beautiful, contrast in the metals, and then finishing and sealing your work. So you'll go away with at least one piece of completed work. So any questions on that class? Okay. None? Okay. Let's talk about the second class, the Guerilla Gold class. This is a brand new class. I mean, brand new, hot off my bench. As I was looking at what was happening with the price of gold, and as I was buying this, I was thinking about how can people keep working with gold when it's 30, last I looked, 3,600 an ounce. I don't know what it is today. Even silver is getting expensive. And I see there are a number of other, artists who are, and teachers who are exploring ways to use bimetals and, just different ways to save money. And it occurred to me that really they're looking at only one aspect of it. And the one aspect, we will cover that in the Guerilla Gold class. It's how do you stretch it? How do you stretch the gold? Whether it's a bimetal, whether it's Kimbu, but powdered metals are a great way to stretch the gold. So, and in the Guerilla Gold class, we'll be looking at different types of golds. First of all, I don't know if any of you have heard of placer gold. It's the gold that's mined directly from streams and rivers. It's about 18 karat, and it is drop dead gorgeous when it's fused. In fact, you know what? I'm going to share my screen again and see if I can find a piece that I just finished. Let's see if I can find it. Let me close this sucker. That I used the placer gold on. Where did I put it? Bear with me, I'll find it. Okay. Okay. See the color of that, how beautiful that yellow is. This was less than a gram of placer gold. And I did not create did I create a paint? Yes, I did create a paint with this. I didn't really have to because I wasn't using other metals too. But just look how beautifully that flowed across the surface of that. So we'll be working with placer gold. I said there's one element, and that's, how do you stretch the gold? And that's how do you apply the material? How do you alloy it? How do you thin it out? How do all of these techniques that you can use to stretch it. But there is another key aspect that I think is so important, and that is the design aspect. What just hit me recently, and I've done it instinctively, but recently I realized that's what I'm doing. Applying gold strategically to steel so that you get the maximum design impact. And I know it sounds trite, but a little goes a long way. This is a new material that I've just discovered. These are flakes. They're gold foil flakes. And this I've used a lot more than I think is a good idea to use from a design standpoint, but I wanted to show you, hang on just a second. Yeah, I wanted to show you what I mean by less is more and by design consideration. Okay, here's the flakes, and then here's another one. And I just say by looking with an eye toward maximizing the impact of the gold, you can really, really stretch the value. I am shocked that my pieces that are minimal, that have minimal gold on them, those are the ones that sell first. So it's really, we'll talk a lot in the Guerilla Gold, not only about stretching the gold and using special forms of gold, but the design aspect of using it in a way that is smart and sophisticated. So here's another example. Very inexpensive use of gold. I don't know exactly how much gold I used on this, but I'm going to guess it was less than $30. So yes, you can add gold to steel jewelry without breaking the bank. Lastly, we're going to talk about using one of the bronzes that maybe two of the bronzes. Even though it's not gold, it looks a lot like gold. Now, I'm not suggesting we're going to pass it off as gold, of course, but here is this. This is Hadar Jacobson's brilliant bronze, and it has just this gorgeous look of gold. So that's another thing we'll be looking at. But I can't emphasize the the design aspect enough, because I think that's so important. Okay, so that's kind of the summary of both classes. What questions can I answer? How many of you have worked with steel? If I know some of you have your faces hidden, but yeah, we've got a couple of people who have. Andrea, you said you have. What have you done with steel, Andrea?
I'm just getting started. I've used dark annealed steel wire. I've soldered it with silver, and I've done small earrings. I've played around with gun bluing to blacken it and keep the silver. So I'm really at a minimal beginning stage. I'm still working full time, so it's
Okay.
but that's what I've done.
Okay. Isn't the wire fun? I mean, it's really think about too, you can use it for neck rings. Even in the last class I did, people used a heavier wire to make bangles. It's really so much fun. Let's see, there was somebody else who had worked with steel.
Amy Parker is in chat.
Oh, you know what? I should check chat. I haven't done that.
And I want to make sure that Regina got her questions answered about where to get the gold from, the powdered gold.
Oh, how are the powdered metals made and obtained? Ooh, that is a great question. And I'm not sure I have time to cover it fully, and that is part of the class. But the production of powdered metals is so interesting. Powdered metals are produced, and they are widely used in industry. They're used in architecture, they're used in manufacturing, they're used in medical settings. The most common way to produce them is a process that's called atomization. And basically, the metals are smelted, the impurities are removed, the alloy is made if it needs to be made. If it's a pure metal, they don't need to do that. And then it is piped into a chamber, and at the orifice or the opening of that chamber, they introduce a chemical to it that essentially causes it to sort of explode. And I just think that's fascinating. They can also do it rather than a chemical, they can also do it with water. There's water atomization too. But the powders they're like 350 mesh. If you do enameling, you know that 350 is a very fine mesh. So yeah, so that's the way they're produced. Gold is produced a little bit different way. And quite honestly, I haven't asked Tevel how this gold is produced. My guess is it's probably ground. I don't know. I will find that out though. The Kembu is often used, or excuse me, gold foil is sometimes ground and used as powdered gold. That I don't think that technique is not very effective because what it produces are tiny little thin flakes of gold, which are absorbed into the steel. So this powder that Allcraft has is fantastic. Okay, let's see what else we've got in chat. Pre-enamel steel. Oh, I work a lot with pre-enamel steel that I use as a base. On which enamel, with porcelain or jewel? Oh, is the question which enamel do you use? Okay, I think that's it. Liquid form enamel is what I use, and steel takes enamel beautifully. I'm actually working on teaching a class the end of this year at, where is it going to be? Silver Peak, a one-day class on enameling steel. And yeah, it's the liquid form enamel. I get it from Enamel Warehouse, and I have used the vitreous enamel, the powdered enamel. You can use it. I like the liquid enamel because I think it's easier to get different patterns, and it also, I think it has a smoother texture, but I could be wrong on that. So, okay, let's see. Andrea, to everyone, it's a different, wait. Yes, it's a different series in the Thompson lineup, right? Or does it say, no, it's different. Oh, are you talking about the liquid? I don't think so. I think liquid enamel, I don't know whether liquid enamel can be used on copper or silver or not.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Helen, and I'm sorry, I don't have my picture up, but
That's quite all right, Helen. Thank you.
yeah, but I do use there's a liquid enamel that I use on, there's porcelain enamel I use on steel, and then there's a liquid enamel that Thompson makes, which I use on copper.
Okay.
You can use liquid enamels on copper. I was just wondering if the base enamel, for their 1000 and 2000 series can be used on steel, or if you have to go up to like the 9000 series that you'd use with glass, for example, or
I
and do
use,
you have to kiln do you have to anneal your steel the way you do when you're working with glass? Ooh, I like that.
No. Let me back up a little bit. There is a special base coat for steel.
Okay.
GC16 is designed for steel, and it's not an absolute requirement to use it, but it helps the enamel adhere better.
Mhm.
It also helps if you rough up the steel a lot. I use a sandblaster. If you do that, you don't necessarily have to use the GC16,
Okay.
but your chances of success are going to be much better if you use that. Let's see. So was that the question? Yeah, that was the question. I also, though, use the pre-enameled steel is really nice. You can also get an extremely low carbon steel. It's a 1006 steel that tends to enamel better. It's called enameling steel, and Cat Cole sells that. And I've used that quite a bit too. I'm surprised at how well steel takes enamel, but even taking it a step further, I am so excited that the woven mesh takes enamel even better. It's like it's made to be enameled. And I think it's because it's got so many nooks and crannies and irregularities. And it's just so much fun. So let's see. Andrea also said, Jean, at Enamel Warehouse, she is fantastic. And I got to say, it's so refreshing to do business with her after Thompson, because Thompson is just, their website is just horrible. Their shipping costs are outrageous and they're slow as molasses. So I hate to say that. I mean, I hate to be critical because they have wonderful products, amazing products. So Jean definitely fills a need. Helen, thank you for sharing what you know about enameling on steel. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, what I wanted to ask is that can your process be done on the pre-enamel steel?
Yes.
Oh, it can.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Definitely. In fact, if I am trying to save time, I'll get the pre-enamel steel.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Which of course you don't need to put a base
ground cover.
on because it's already there.
Right. Exactly. There is, we veered into the topic of enameling, which is really way off topic, but I
Sorry.
love it. I don't know if any of you know Amanda Dennison. She's a UK artist who just does beautiful enameling on steel.
Yes.
And she uses rust as a design element.
Right.
Amanda wrote a chapter for my book on enameling steel. I am not the expert that Amanda or Kat are. I am just getting into, particularly the mesh is my thing. But this chapter is, gosh, it's probably 20 pages long. And it's like taking a workshop in enameling steel. So that's a pitch. If you're interested in enameling steel, it's thoroughly covered in my book. Okay, anything else? Well, if you're not already signed up for the workshops, I hope you will look into them. The painting with powdered metals, I know it's so popular. People have been really signing up for it, quite a bit. The second one is brand new, so it's kind of like, but it's different. It's not your traditional use of gold, and I think you'd get a lot of value out of it. And how to really, when I said it's different, how to make your work look different. So if there are, let me check chat one more time.
Hey, Bet.
Oh, Shelley took your class at Wim Holland. Oh,
Hey, Bet, I do have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Hey, it's good to see you. It's been a
Good
while.
to see you. How are you?
And good. The Guerilla Gold class, from what I've, talked to you about, that I like mixing it with silver. I don't know that I'm ready to jump into steel at this point. Would it be relevant to working with other precious metals with the gold?
Think about that. I'm not sure, because, and I'll tell you why. Steel is so different, and gold on steel is so different than gold on silver. It's just a totally different approach, totally different technique. Am I answering what you asked?
Yeah, I think so. Because my approach has been to fuse the gold to the silver and then patina the silver. So that's what makes the gold pop. It's not,
right.
Yeah. And I use like kind of a technique to get more colors in and I'm playing with different alloys too, like maybe lower carat. I've always used really high carat. And anyway, I've been experimenting.
Right. Well, certainly the powdered metals, like the alloying, and I don't know, fusing powdered metals to silver, that might be a possibility. So I don't know, Susan, quite frankly, I have not worked with silver enough
Okay.
to really be confident and say that it has strong applications for it. I do know that you can't, with silver, it's really difficult to get the contrast that you
Mhm.
get with steel. It's just, you know, they're just different metals.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you want to, though, we can talk offline a little bit, kind of what you're interested in.
Okay.
You know,
Or-
just let me know. I'd be happy to give you a call and we could talk about it.
Okay, thank you. That's
Uh,
sweet.
yeah.
And when you feel better.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry, guys. Usually I'm a lot more animated usually. So, okay. Anything else at all? All right. Well, you know, reach out to me if you have any questions. Here's my email. If you want to write it down, it's Bette, Bette, at studio. And the second word is Migoto. It's a Japanese word. It's M as in Mary, IGOTO.com. Just reach out if you have questions. So, okay.
Thank you so much, Bette. This was fun and really informative.
Sure.
Any last questions? If you want to join us and you haven't yet, you can sign up on the MAG website.
Oh, and you might get a free t-shirt. We're going to have a drawing for t-shirts. So,
so you can join the tribe. Right.
All right.
Right.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Wait, it looks like one more question, Donna. So I don't know what that said.
Donna, what was your question? It says, so you OCTIN? Misspelling. Okay. All right. Thank you all. I hope to see you in October.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Better. Oops.